Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, I live in the state of Paraíba, Brazil, and I want to tell you all that I'm fascinated by ufology and cryptozoology. The following encounter is about a mysterious case that occurred in Mexico in the 19th century. The story is not mine, but from a man of Mexican origin who heard it from his father. The story had been in his family for a long time, passed down from generation to generation. It's about a mysterious light seen in the skies over a village near Ocosingo, and mysterious disappearances occurring in the vicinity, as well as people being killed by an otherworldly monster.
This story I am going to tell you is something old, that has been in my family for a long time, and that really happened. It is not an invention. It was passed down from generation to generation, from father to son, and it comes from my grandfather's grandfather's time, which happened in the 19th century. We do not comment on this story outside the family, as many do not believe it, but what matters is that it was a true fact that was recorded in the generations of my family, and that will also be passed on to my grandchildren and their grandchildren. When I found the website Album de Imaginaco on the internet, I decided to send the report so that it would be publicly recorded, and also as a way of honoring my ancestors. It's called El Cazador de Hombres. My family is of Mexican origin. From what was passed on to me by my father and grandfather, the memories come from a village, where the nearest town was Ocosingo. In this village lived my great-grandfather and his family. His family was poor and without resources, like most of the people in that region, and they basically lived off the land. They had a farm, where there was a vegetable plantation and also some animals, such as chickens, cows, and goats. According to my grandfather, they had a peaceful and happy life, although without luxury. But everything began to change when on a certain night, everyone in the village saw a very strong light across the sky, which appeared to fall in the woods of a nearby forest. Everyone was startled when they saw that light tear the sky at high speed, and apparently fall into a nearby location. I note that at that time, 19th century, there were no planes and neither the modernity of today, so I can imagine the astonishment that the people of the village had in the face of that sighting. Seeing that strange fact, everyone got together and decided to look in the woods for what could have fallen there. The next day, several men gathered, including my great-great-grandfather, and went in the direction where that strange light appeared to have fallen, which was in the nearby forest. Everyone left and followed the trails in the region and entered the forest to look for something different. However, it was of no use because even searching a large area they found nothing unusual, and they returned to the village afterward, where they told the others that there was nothing there in the forest, so the people were calmer with the news, but at the same time curious about what that strange light could have been. After the scare, everything remained calm in the village as it always was, until one day, as the people involved said, a farmer who lived nearby went out to look for a steer that had strayed from the rest of the herd and had not returned home. The farmer's family, then worried, asked the neighbors for help to look for him, as it was already dark and he had not returned. Faced with the request for help, some neighbors got together and left with their lamps and torches in search of their missing friend. They searched for many hours in the nearby woods but found nothing. The next day they went out again to search, only this time they had a sad surprise. They found the farmer lying in the woods, dead, and in a strange way. His body was torn apart from the neck to the waist and there were no internal organs. It was as if something or someone had murdered him, cut open his body, and removed all his organs in some mysterious way. That at the time was a scandal, as there were no cases of murder in the region, as everyone was known. The most that happened was a few thefts of chickens and clothes on a clothesline, nothing more than that. So the police force of the nearest city was called, which did a sweep of the place and some investigation, but no conclusion was reached because, with the precarious resources of the time, they did not even identify the type of weapon or object that killed that man. Once the burial was done, the mystery remained in the air, and fear hovered over the villagers, but life continued at its pace. A few weeks after this intriguing fact, another resident mysteriously disappeared. They said he was going to a nearby waterfall. He also didn't return home until dark. In the same way as before, but with more fear and caution, a group went out to search, but nothing was found during the night either. The next day, the search continued, and at a certain distance after the waterfall, the resident's body was also found, dead and this time all torn to pieces as if a beast had attacked him, and as before, there were no internal organs in his body either. This fact generated general panic in the village, as he was already the second person to die brutally and mysteriously in the region, something that had never happened before. Again the police force was called, which, in the same way as before, carried out an investigation and interrogations, but nothing was resolved, saying that maybe it was some wild animal that had killed the resident and devoured his internal organs. No one believed this, as it was not possible that the same animal had killed both people in a similar way, and also completely devoured all the internal organs. And the rest of the bodies, why weren't they devoured too? No animal would do that. Either it would devour everything or not just internal parts. Another week later, it was the turn of a young man to disappear in the same way. He had said that he would go fishing nearby, even with his parents' warning of the existing danger, and had not returned. Like the others, his body was also found on the banks of the river, but decapitated, with a torn chest and without internal organs. The panic that already existed in the place, from this new murder, turned into general hysteria. Everyone clamored for justice and a solution to the problem. In the village, there was a lady, half gypsy, half seer, who said that it was not the work of men or animals, but that it was the work of something that people did not know. This news passed from villager to villager, and everyone was more terrified than before and didn't know what to do. Until one day an older resident decided to create a group of men to hunt the animal or what would be responsible for the murders. So a group of 5 men decided to go out and sweep the forest. Afraid that it was something supernatural, they asked the lady who was a clairvoyant to accompany them, imagining that with her in the group there could be more protection, due to her gift of clairvoyance. To accompany the lady, her granddaughter also decided to go along to love her, if necessary. So the next morning, the 5 men left, all armed with revolvers and rifles, the lady who was a seer and her granddaughter in search of what would be responsible for all those crimes. According to the story, they walked for almost the whole day, searching the forest in search of clues, until they found strange footprints, which, according to what they said, were not of a man nor were they of known animals, and even scared, they kept looking. What came next was something terrifying, leaving some people mentally disturbed. After a few kilometers from this last location, everyone stopped in a clearing to rest and eat a snack they had taken. They were all exhausted and almost gave up the search because they thought they would find nothing. According to one of the survivors, it was at that moment that they heard a noise in the woods as if something was approaching. Everyone was startled, and the men readied their weapons, not knowing what it could be. That's when something started running around them in a circle through the woods, and at high speed. Everyone saw the leaves of the trees and plants moving and the noise of something moving quickly around everyone, but no one saw what it was. At a certain moment, a tall creature emerged from the forest at high speed, with a body covered in scales, grayish in color, with many huge teeth, sharp claws in its hands, and with reddish eyes. The creature jumped and went down with the men in the group, turned quickly, and very quickly killed the men in the group one by one. All 5 were brutally exterminated, their bodies torn apart and 2 decapitated. After the general extermination of the men, the creature let out a roar and headed towards the 2 women who were lying on the ground in a state of shock. When they thought it would be the end, they were startled when the creature looked at them, as if examining them from head to toe, stopping, and then moving away at high speed into the woods, disappearing. The lady who was the seer and her granddaughter then, after recovering a little from the shock, returned to the village, telling the villagers the details of what happened. Even they couldn't believe what had happened. Asked what that creature was, she said it was El Diablo, but as the creature only killed the men and spared the women, it was called by the local people El Cazador de Hombres. After that massacre, the police sent a full force into the village. The forest was searched throughout the region, but nothing else was found. About 2 weeks later, another resident was found dead in the same way. A month after this last case, a couple was traveling along a road to the city of Ocosingo, when they were attacked by the creature. The woman said that at one point, when the surrounding forest was at its thickest, the creature sprang up and leaped onto the wagon and hurled her husband to the ground, leaping on him and tearing his body open with its claws. Then, in the same way as before, the creature approached the woman, examined her from top to bottom, and did nothing against her, moving away from there at high speed in the woods. After this last murder, nothing more happened, but also nothing was found or the mystery solved. Everyone was terrified and no longer left the house alone. And the mystery remained forever. My grandfather said that his grandfather guaranteed that everything was true, because he himself saw the bodies of the dead men when they arrived in the village, and it was a horrible thing. Although after the last death, nothing more happened, there were many doubts in everyone in the village. What was that? Where did it come from? What did you want? Why did he only kill men and why did he kill them? Could it have something to do with the mysterious light that was seen long ago, before the events? And perhaps most intriguing, where did the creature go, and would it ever return, even if in another location? This was a mystery that my grandfather's grandfather witnessed in his life, and it was so striking and shocking that he told it to his grandson, who passed it on to his descendants, reaching me, which I am now telling all of you. All I ask is for no one to try to contact me, as I no longer want to speak publicly about this subject, with what I know being exposed here. I know nothing more than that. More details only with those who witnessed the facts, which already left this world many, many years ago. For those who don't believe, be at peace, and when you know that something strange is happening in some forest, go there to check what it could be in person, but first remember that this could be your last trip. One thing I learned from my father and grandfather, as well as my ancestors. Never doubt what can exist in the universe, however incredible and extraordinary it may seem, because one day you may witness something that will change your life forever.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.